Andrew, it's been phenomenal, to have these international guys come to our country and compete and show us so much. So we draw a lot of our inspiration, a lot of our ideas from the international guys. And I think for all farriers, it's a way of life for us, more so than just a job. These guys are committed to this industry and they're committed to the welfare of horses. So yeah, it's a part of what we are, really, more so than what we do.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having us. It's always an honor to come. Support. This group of farriers is really wanting to get together and unite and bring their skill level up, so it's good to be a part of it.
Obviously, by virtue of the fact that your father's here, I can safely assume that you're a second generation farrier, but it might even go further than that.
Yes, my grandfather was a farrier as well, so third generation, and then my middle son works with me also now.
Cody?
Cody, yes.
Yeah,
yes, Cody.
We've had a Cody in South Africa before with Chris Gregory, I think it was.
Yes, yeah, Cody Gregory. He's on the WCB team with me this year. Top farrier, great guy. We've had a really good fun time here together.
Now, I have to tell you a little story. Probably about 16, 17 years ago, when Robbie Miller was still living in Port Elizabeth, they started off this plan to elevate farriers from the level of being just a sort of a workman that didn't have that self-esteem, didn't have that recognition. He had a picture of a rig on his little bucky, which of course you know is a ute or whatever the case may be. And he has lived that dream, and we're very proud of what he's achieved for bringing you out here to impart your knowledge, your skill. Where did that all start for you?
Oh wow, all started for me in 1994. And I'd moved away from home and met a farrier that had a forge. And he showed me how to use that forge, and he told me about certifications and competitions. And so in 95, I went through my certification process, and 96 started competing. And I brought my dad along with me, and he started competing in 96 as well, and here we are.
Dusty actually passed his journeyman test a lot faster than I did, and he helped me pass mine. So I knew that he was a teacher at that time. He was a teacher when he was little. We lived in Colorado, and I was worked for Durango Ski Corporation, and I would go and I'll run the rope tow, which was the beginner slopes. Well, Dusty was about 6 or 7 years, 8 years old, and he would ski down there, and he'd find a couple or a couple of guys or whatever, and that was trying to struggle, and he would help them a little bit. And he said, "Hey, I'll take you up the mountain, teach you how to ski if you'll buy my lunch." Well, there was a 5-star restaurant on the back side of the mountain, and he always got them good enough to get him there by lunch.
So he's an absolute natural-born leader.
Natural-born teacher.
You have to shoe horses for the horse, not for money, not for recognition of world titles, anything. You have to get up every morning and have the mindset that you're getting paid to practice to get better at your trade every day. That's wonderful to be in.
I look with great envy and great admiration at you guys starting off with a piece of steel, and you can make anything from it, whether it's a hammer's head or whether it's a shoe or it's something decorative. I know that you guys do find spare time to do these things. What does it feel like when you've made something so beautiful and so protective for a horse?
Oh, I love it. It's the best feeling in the world when you have a nice go on the foot. That's why we practice forging, is just to be a better horseshoer. You hear a lot of people that don't forge will say, yeah, they're good at making shoes, but they can't shoe horses. You can't have one without the other. If you don't know how to trim a foot well, you can never put the right shoe, the shape in the shoe. It all goes hand in hand. So it is really nice to practice and work all the time. It's a game you can't win. That's what I like about it. You can always improve your skill your whole career.
It must be inspirational to work with a guy of his caliber.
Oh, it's phenomenal. The first time I met Dusty was a few years ago in Missouri at Chris Gregory's, and the two of us ended up doing a front pair on a horse where we built a pair of shoes. And from that day, it must be about 4 or 5 years ago, Dusty and I have just really become good friends, and I've learned so much from him. He's one of the top guys around, really.
Like going to church is good for spiritual food. So this is obviously your food when it comes to the challenges and the new ideas that come out of farriery around the world, to have guys like Dusty Franklin and Robbie and all these vastly experienced farriers around you.
Oh, absolutely. And it just fuels your enthusiasm. Often, your work becomes, you feel like you're just doing the same thing, and, you lose a bit of the enthusiasm, and you come to something like this and it just lights that fire again, and it gets you going, motivates you, and you realize that maybe you aren't doing such a bad job and you are on the right track, or, where you can possibly pick up on things a bit.
It's very important. There's a lot of farriers in the States that are not certified, that do not compete, that do wonderful work. But I believe competition makes you way more efficient, and your body's going to last longer if you shoe hot than cold all the time.
I found it particularly enlightening yesterday when you gave people the briefing as to how the test would be judged, breaking it up into sections so that people refreshed their minds, that they didn't lose points at the end or at the beginning or in the middle, that they focused generally on the points that were available.
Well, it doesn't matter whether it's one of the first competitions you're doing in a country or as a top international that we find in America or the UK. You still need to remind those competitors where the points are. Because when they're sweating and when they're working hard, they forget they've got to leave 5-10 minutes at the end to nail and finish, and they can completely wipe off 10 points quite easily. So you have to refer to where the points are all the time.
I'm going to make an assumption over here that the rand-dollar, rand-pound exchange being as weak as it is, that you could never get paid enough for what you're worth. Presumably there's a large element of passion behind you coming to South Africa.
Yeah, a lot of the teaching I do in the States or in Europe, a lot of it I do for free. Okay, I want to see these horses being looked after properly. I want to see them moving in a good natural gait, and I want to see the guys being able to recognise a good natural gait. It's all about trying to work those animals to the optimum of their performance. Okay, just like you see on the race course. Those race horses have got to be in tip-top condition. So are the feet and so are the balance. If the balance out, they ain't going to come first.
I was chatting to a guy called Glenn Zimmerman who was in an organisation called Bereda. You've got a military background,
Yep.
Very, very important in terms of being clinical, being fair, but also being disciplined.
Yeah, I spent 24 years in the British military. Most of that time was escorting the Queen, where those horses can do up to 6 hours on the road. Now, if you haven't got the balance and you haven't got the feet right and you haven't got the shoeing right, those horses aren't going to last 6 hours on the road pounding up and down escorting the Queen. We've got to get it right. They reckon you can take 5 years off of a horse's life by not balancing and levelling those feet up properly. And that's what we're here today for, is to share our passion, share our knowledge and get those horses working right.
Obviously, when a human being walks into a shoe shop, they know exactly when that shoe fits, never mind what the shop assistant tells you. A horse can't tell you. It's up to you to make that horse feel comfortable. How does the horse show you that he's happy?
A lot of it is you learn when you come back to reset what you've done. And if you shoot 2 horses the same, you shot 1 wrong. So it's evaluation of the confirmation of the horse number 1. We're going to watch the horse walk, dynamic static evaluations, and years of practice.
The education of the South African farriers is absolutely critical, because a lot of them, I find, are those quiet, self-effacing men that don't believe that they deserve to get the recognition which they richly deserve.
Yes, they do. Yeah, the FITS exam has been huge for us in the States. It's growing like crazy all over the world, and it all came from here. And so we're really, really on a good start here. I love coming over here, being a part of that examination and seeing the farriers grow.
Now, last night a very special announcement was made by one of your colleagues with regard to a development program where an air tickets and land arrangements have been organised. How did that come to fruition?
Well, the AFA has actually been sending people since the 80s. It's been around a long time, and they have an exchange program where they swap people. So they'll send 2 Americans to a country, and that country will send 2 people to us. And the airfare is all paid, and they get put up and stay a week or 2 at a time all around the States for 3 months, and then they come back. And that's huge educational opportunity for anybody that gets to participate in it.
With this being a new association, I'd really like to get y'all on part of it, and so I offered to sponsor the first farrier to come over to the U.S. The exchange program is a 3-month program. You spend a week with each farrier, and you're completely hosted by the American Farriers Association. We take you around, travel you around, you shoe with all of us, and then have a bit of fun. You know, we shoe for a few days and just really have it's a cultural exchange, you know, as much as a shoeing exchange. Many of the people that have been on the exchange program have gone on to be on national teams, Canadian, UK, American teams. The list of the people that have been on the exchange really reads like a who's who of the farrier world. So, you know, I really think there's a lot of talent here, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and it's going to build and give something for the younger guys to really work at, well, guys and girls, you know, to work at and strive for and achieve for, so that'd be good.
We're very fortunate to have the likes of Dusty Franklin and his crew that he's brought over. The guys are competing. There's chaps here in the WCB. There's chaps here on the American Cultural Exchange Program that offered us the sponsorship last night. And to bring that sort of crowd here is motivating our guys, and it's really inspirational. I had a striker, one of the WCB team members, and it helped me. You learn stuff all the time, and it's great. It's a great thing for everybody in this game. We all learn to go back with something good.
Okay, and don't overdress the bars either. So all I'm doing... But as these competitions become more regular, I think those horses will settle down, as will the competitors. They will settle down into it. They'll know what to do. They don't need me to remind them what they're going to do. And I think we're going to see a higher standard. The standard's good, don't get me wrong. The standard is good, but I think we're going to get some really good players from South Africa.
Very seldom is a farrier ever mentioned when the owner's being interviewed for a big race win. And there might have been some issues. But at the back of your mind, you know, you've done your best, you've cracked on with the job, and yes, we are humble guys.
We've already started planning our March event, which is just after the Cape racing season. We have a top guy coming out, a guy by the name of Jeremiah Harris, which is also an associate of the Worshipful Company of Farriers in England. We've already got planned for our FITS exams in July next year, so we've already got half of our schedule already worked out for the 2016 year.
I'm happy we had it. I'm happy they approached us for the simple reason for the exposure and just to let people come and feel the vibe at Alba, because I feel it's a special place, especially where equine is concerned. Most people that do come here with their horses find that it's a total relaxed atmosphere, because here we deal with the horse. Our horses come first. We're in a fortunate position, we don't live off it. We got other companies and my partner, Dr. Grant Duplessis, being a neurosurgeon, he's got his own practice. So we do it for the love of the horse. We don't do it for making profit, but obviously we need to cover our overheads and make sure that the horse has got quality of life in the sense of being fed properly and being cared for properly.